Florida man, Florida man, Florida man, Florida man does whatever a Florida man can. Look out, here comes the Florida man. Thank you guys for tuning into another video today. I've got some interesting stories. We're going to be talking about Korea again, North Korea specifically on the warpath. NASCAR proves that if you go looking for racism, you'll find it in your own head. 104 people shot dead by the cops in Chicago. Wait, no, sorry, that says by civilians. This is awkward. And a Florida man is a pedophile with a twist. I'm Anthony, and this is Allow Me to Retort. Thank you guys for tuning into another video again. I've looked at my statistics and about half the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. What's wrong with you? 48% of you guys are not subscribed. Go ahead on and hit commit. You're here. Commit. Just hit the subscribe button and don't forget to ring that bell too. I appreciate everybody who got me to 200 as well. Big love, lots of love. But anyway, let me continue giving you what you came here for. Let's just jump into some of my stories today. First thing I want to talk about is North Korea has blown up their liaison office and its relations with the South. I talked about that last week, that North Korea had said that they were going to consider South Korea an enemy and they were going to be cutting off all communication. Well, North Korea has doubled down and they have now blown up an office on their own land. They've blown up the building which they would have used to communicate with South Korea directly. So this isn't really an act of war or any thing, but it does go to back up the fact that they are being extremely hostile to the point where it's kind of retarded that they wouldn't use this building for something else. They could just retool it, but no, instead they decided to show South Korea that they mean big business by blowing up one of their own buildings. It appears that the decision was made by Kim Yo-young, Kim Jong-un's younger sister. She's basically making a lot of big decisions over in there in North Korea. A lot of people were speculating that when Kim was dying, or so people thought he was dying, that she was going to be the next ruler of the country, which would be, you know, groundbreaking because she'd be a female. And they haven't really had that in like ever. She's got a lot of power over there in North Korea. I'm starting to think she's got even more than Kim himself. It's always the silent, strong ones that you have to watch out for. And her having the ability to make a decision like, hey, let's blow up one of our own buildings to prove that we're not going to talk to South Korea anymore, kind of goes to back that up. Now, this next story is about NASCAR. I talked about them also last week, banning the Confederate flag, hopping on the bandwagon, calling everything racist. Well, I'm glad I didn't talk about this story sooner because they had released a story that said that there was a noose found in NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace's. He's one of the few black NASCAR drivers and he does pretty well for himself. Apparently a noose was found in his garage. And everybody was all up in roars. They was like, this proves that those people are angry that the Confederate flag was taken away. Those racists have come out. They're rearing their ugly head. Well, today I just read this lovely story. The FBI concludes that Bubba Wallace was not the victim of a hate crime over this noose incident. Apparently that rope was the rope that you used to lower and raise the garage door, and that rope, they have it on camera that rope had been there for over a year. Nothing to do with Bubba Wallace. That noose, that rope that everybody was saying was proof that racism is running rampant, it was there before Bubba Wallace was even there. Long before Bubba Wallace was even there, over a year ago. So this just goes to show that when you go looking for racism everywhere, when you call everything racism, you're going to see racism. But guess what? It may only be in your little demented, twisted head, whoever is in charge of making all these dumb calls at NASCAR. The quote here says, the FBI report concludes, and photographic evidence confirms that the garage pull door rope, fashioned like a noose, had been positioned there since early as last fall. This was obviously well before the Team 43's arrival and garage assignment. So yeah, like I said, it proves from video evidence or photo evidence or whatever that this had been there for quite some time, long before Bubba Wallace was even in that garage. And the thing that sickens me the most is that people knew this. People knew that rope was there forever, and what they did was they let the media get a hold of it and spread fire and start to stir up the pot, so everybody's yelling racism. But then once people start digging into it and saying, wait a minute, this rope has been here for a while, now we get the full story. We get details and photographic evidence, and people know that this rope was there for a long time. But everybody knows corrections to news articles don't get half as much, probably not even a fraction as much of the attention as the initial news article does. So what I'm telling you right now is there's probably thousands of people out there, if not a million people, who have seen that there was a rope in Bubba Wallace's garage, a noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. A fraction of those people are going to get the truth that that rope precedes Bubba Wallace, that it had nothing to do with racism, that that rope was there when white people inhabited that garage as well. It's the rope that they used to raise and lower the garage door. But nobody's going to see that. And I wonder why they never released any photos of it either. I believe they probably wouldn't have done that because it would have been attached to a garage door, and it would have looked pretty silly for somebody to say, oh, that's a noose, when it's the thing that you use to pull up and down the garage door. We don't get all that kind of information. We just get the inflammatory headline, and then we react to it. And that's exactly what they want. It's race baiting at its fullest, and it's sick and it's disgusting. I really hope more people get to see the truth in situations like that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not some racism denier. I believe racism exists, but what I'm telling you is that it's not as rampant and not as widespread as people are letting us to believe right now. And I think we're being led like sheep to do and act how they want us to do. Speaking of race and people acting a certain way based on what they've read in the news, 104 have been fatally shot over the weekend of Father's Day in Chicago, which sounds pretty crazy, but that's just a normal weekend in Chicago. Among these 104 people shot are 12 minors, 12 absolutely innocent people. I read through them. I didn't read through all of them, but the 12 minors in particular, they were all just innocent bystanders. You had one dad who was in a drug deal. You had another person who was a target of a drive-by shooting in his car, and then his son was hit. These kids have been put in harm's way for no reason other than the actions of some adults, which they have no control over. But where's the riots and stuff for that? Where's the riot for 104 people killed in a single weekend, 12 of them children? Where's the riot? Where's the statue that we topple over for this? Where's the outrage? If Black Lives Matter so much, we should be talking about 104 Black lives taken over the weekend by other Black people. You know, like, why is there no riot? Where's Black Lives Matter? Where's the Black Panthers at over this racial injustice in a single city? Those numbers are astounding. They're crazy that this is happening, but we're not hearing about it. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's marching about it. Nobody's I can't breathe. You'll find it very difficult to find a publicized list of these 12 children, but you can easily find the list of the 11 children who were killed by the cops, most of which were brandishing toy guns. Not saying that it's justified. Children shouldn't be killed under almost any circumstances, but these kids, I just want to point out the discrepancy. You'll probably never know who they are. You'll never see their pictures. You'll never hear their names. But the ones killed by cops, they'll be politicized. They'll be made poster boys and girls, and you'll see their names. They'll be chants. They'll be on t-shirts and everything. But the ones killed by other people in the hood, they will go unheard. Their stories will go unsung, and we'll move on like normal, because Black lives only matter when a white person takes it. When Black people take our lives, it's a non sequitur. Speaking of white people and cops, I have a white cop and a story from Florida. Florida is a bastion of crazy headlines and crazy reactions, and you think it's just because, I don't know, it's hot down there and people don't know how to act in the heat or something like that. But last week, Florida had executed a raid. They have a new program where they catch pedophiles and, investigate them and try to get them off the streets. And we've got Sheriff Grady Judd talking and explaining to the press about one of these sick pedophiles that they did catch. But there's a little bit more to this twisted criminal than his obsession with child porn. Sheriff Grady Judd goes into a little bit more detail of some of the sickening things this person was into. Check this video out.
He's 58 years of age. His name is Jose Ariza. We charged him with distributing child porn and attempting to purchase child porn. Well, here's the news flash. You look at this guy, Jose. You know what else he was doing online? He was purchasing soiled underwear. Did you hear me? Did you hear what I said? There's a market out there. You can go online, and if you're a deviant and you're into soiled underwear, and you know what all kinds of things get in soiled underwear, right? Sometimes you think you're passing gas and you're not. You can't trust a fart when you're over 60. But this guy will buy it. He was buying these things and ingesting them. Did you hear me? He was munching on them.
God bless Sheriff Grady Judd, as he said that sicko Jose was buying soiled underwear. That's right. There's a market for that. You can do that. And as Judd said, you can't trust a fart where you're over 60. So there's probably those soiled underwear. They're well soiled because apparently, I don't know what intel Judd was able to give us and whatnot, but there may have been some underwear that belonged to some people over 60, I suppose. So good job on Grady Judd, keeping the streets clean, keeping the underwear clean, and getting another sicko off the streets. Those are all the stories I have for you guys today, though. Tell me, what do you think about North Korea? Do you think we're going to see things ramp up, and that with all this corona stuff, we're distracted? We're not going to see that a war is brewing over there in the East? Do you think NASCAR was in the wrong for letting that story go as far as it did? You may have read the headlines yourself. You may have seen it, that this was some racist rope put there, a noose, but then it turns out that it wasn't, and I think they jumped the gun by putting that story out there. And what do you say of 104 people shot in Chicago over a single weekend? Do you think it's weird that we're focusing on this Black Lives Matter police brutality narrative when it's quite clear that the hood is pretty brutal in itself? And last thing, well, I guess it doesn't really matter what you think about this, but Florida man's a pedophile. Florida man is crazy. Move away from Florida. If you live in Florida, pack your bags and get away. And if you like Florida, grab a saw and just cut it off. You know, 2 states I think we need to get rid of: Florida and California. We need to just saw them right on off and send them out into the sea. Let them do all the crazy weird things that they want to do. No disrespect to any of the people who are in Florida or California, but I just think you need to get away and get away fast. But that's all the video I have for you guys today. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe. Remember, only 43% subscribe, so change that for me, please. I'm Anthony, and this is Allow Me to Retort.